to Sporting Jibberish Talks to. We are in a Radisson Red apartment block here in Dubai, Silicon Oasis, and we're joined by former Manchester United and Antwerp player Kirk Hilton. Evening, Kirk. Welcome to Sporting Jibberish and the Radisson Reds. Obviously, we've met just off camera, but Jack and you know Stu through the GoPro Sports.
Yeah, so I coach Stuart's lad, and I'm looking forward to telling you a few stories and getting into my career.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm going to start. I'll throw this out there. So, with you being a Manchester-born lad, there's no way you can support Man United, can you?
Well, funnily enough, that's a bit of a myth. There is a lot of us Mancunians that support Man U, but it's with you being a Liverpool fan, it's been a tough time for the last couple of days.
I was about to say, how's that gone down? I did see Ole Gunnar saying something that it hurts seeing any other side lift the trophy, let alone Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, my phone it just kept beeping when Liverpool won the league. So I've obviously got a few Liverpool fans who are parents who are sort of messaging me. But I think it's one of those things where you've got to accept that they have been fantastic this season, and they've been knocking on the door for the last two seasons really. But I'm just hoping that it just gives the Ole's like a bit of a kickstart and makes them come back stronger next year and Liverpool win the league.
Yeah, we're discussing Man United. I was saying beforehand, I thought that the break has worked in your favour. That you're allowed to get Pogba back, Rashford back. You know, Pogba's had more training time with Fernandes. You know, and they've started to link up. And I think from the bits I've seen, you look a lot stronger since you've come back.
Yeah, I think they did have a little bit of momentum before the break.
Yeah,
they were flying without Pogba and Rashford, and I think they've carried that on since obviously getting the two big players back, and obviously Bruno coming in has been, I'm not going to say it's Cantona-esque, but he's definitely lifted the club. He's a leader, and he's been a really good big player for us already, and I think he's 6 games, he's won 6 man of matches, so which shows what a big influence he's going to be on us.
Yeah, and also from a Tottenham point of view, obviously we missed out on him.
Yeah.
I think last summer and even in the January window.
I'm surprised that not many of the big clubs came in for him, because it was a bit like, where's he going to go? And I know he's at Sporting playing in the Portuguese league. It's not the highest league. And then we managed to, and we've been linked with him for a while, and we're just very lucky to have him, really.
Yeah.
It's another one that Spurs missed out on.
Shocked, yeah, I know, yeah. I know we pass off all the good players, Carrick, Sheringham, they all go.
You seem to be on a little bit of our feeder club.
Yeah. You watch Bale end up back there as well.
Like our Southampton. So I was going to say, you obviously Flixton lad, you played a little bit of Flixton youth, and then what happened from that point? You then stepped up to United?
Yeah, so I was playing for Flixton's under 8s a very long time ago. And one of the lads that played on my team, like called John Paul, got scouted the week before by Brian Kidd. And everyone was like, oh, it's amazing, he's going to Man United, centre of excellence back in the day. And then John Paul's dad put in a word, said, listen, come and have a look at this other lad, Kirk, because I wasn't playing that week when he got scouted. So he came the week after, and then the next thing, he's chatting to my mum. My mum gives me the news, I'm an 8-year-old, and says, listen, we want you to sign up for a year, training once a week at the Cliff, centre of excellence. So then obviously started doing that sort of training, and then just really kicked on from there, really.
What was that like when, because I've obviously been a Man United fan, when you get asked to go and then you go to the Cliff and with people like Brian Kidd and people like that, what was that like as an 8-year-old?
Yeah.
Or did you not really know? Was it just football?
Yeah, I mean, as an 8-year-old, of course I supported the club, but you're not really watching the games that much at that age. You're more just interested in your own sort of playing, really. But you soon realise when you go into the Cliff, you know, the sort of magical place that it is, and also when you're training down there, all the best players in Manchester are training at the same place. Then you realise I need to step up my game, even as an 8-year-old. Yeah. But it was all fun. It wasn't, strict, or there wasn't the emphasis on coaching. It was all just go and enjoy it and play. Little 5-a-sides every week. I really enjoyed it. It was just trying to get there was a bit of a nightmare because it was 40 minutes away. So
wow, it's on the ring because the ring road being up.
No, it was. Yeah, you used to do the motorway, but in traffic at 5 o'clock, trying to get there from Flixton to Salford.
And so, like a lot of people, and we'd be exactly the same. We never made it to your level in our chosen sports, but you obviously always owe a lot to your parents, and like you say, 40 minutes in a bush hour in a big city.
Yeah, my mum was she basically, because my dad, you probably don't know this, but my dad was a table tennis player.
Oh,
professional European champion.
Wow.
So he was off with his career, and he didn't really have time really to devote his time to me. He never really saw me play really as a kid because he was off. He was travelling abroad. So it was my mum that was really driving it and sort of taking me here, there, and everywhere. So So yeah, it was really good.
So from that point, from under 8s all the way to under 16s, no ropey patches, no potential releases, or?
I'll be honest with you. I was every year you wait for the letter to come through the post to see whether, and you're thinking, because I was quite small. I'm not exactly tall now, but I've always been quite small, and I thought, are they going to get rid of me just because of my height? And I always felt I had a good ability, but I never felt I was top of the group because we had players who were, once we got to 13, 14, we were at Lily Shaw playing for England, playing for Scotland. You were surrounded by the best. So I think once I got to 14, that was when I signed schoolboy forms, and then 16, we had quite a really good age group with 16 players there. And they basically said, we're not sure about you at 16. We're going to be honest with you. We're going to give you a 6-week trial and see how you go. So luckily, I played really well within those 6 weeks, and then I got a phone call from Sir Alex.
Wow.
Didn't understand a word he said to start off with, to be honest with you. Rang the home phone, spoke to him on the phone, and just said, look, we've obviously seen you over the last 6 weeks. We're going to offer you a 2-year apprentice.
That's a bit surreal, isn't it?
Yeah,
phone's going. Who's that? It's just Sir
Alex. Yeah, my mum answered. She went to Alex on the phone. He wasn't a Sir at the time, but it was. I mean, that was the kickstart I needed because, like I said, I felt like I wasn't in the top sort of 10 or even 50% of the group. But I just thought I'm going to have to knuckle down now. I don't want to be in that situation again where at 18 they're not sure about me. I want to make sure that I give it my best shot.
And obviously you did, and then at 18 you.
Yeah, so
through.
Second year YT. Well, the surreal thing is once you leave school at 16, you then go into the Cliff where all the first team are there, the reserves are there, and you're just like, wow, you're in the same building as Keeney, Scholesy, Giggsy, the manager, and it's just a complete. You've just left school, and then you're going into this full time, and I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't easy because you're doing all the old school stuff, cleaning the boots. You're in at 9 o'clock, you're not leaving till 5, and it was a tough shift, but. Don't get me wrong, it was a fantastic environment to be in.
Big question, Alan, to jump in is, whose boots did you find?
Dwight York's and David May's.
Wow.
And I did get a good Christmas tip.
I was going to ask you, I've met Dwight a few times, I'm just going to ask you, is he in a decent tip?
He is, he gave me a decent tip. Yeah, I mean, I was on it, I was making sure that Christmas, because you're only on, money-wise, YT money £65 a week.
Yeah.
Plus your little win bonuses that you get for the B team and stuff. So.
And obviously, you might talk about this a little bit more as we go through, but when you sit down, and probably other than Roy Keane, but I think that's because he's showed up to the cameras, I think, everybody talks about Sir Alex Ferguson being has this aura about him and the boss, and Neville, Beckham, they all hold him in high regard. Does he have that aura around? And
he's I'd just say I don't think there'll anybody be like him in terms of not just his aura, but he knew your parents from an 11-year-old, 12-year-old. He used to come and watch the B team on a Saturday morning. So we would kick off at 11 o'clock at Littleton Road, just round the corner from the Cliff. And then he'd have his suit on and he'd go to Old Trafford at 1 o'clock with the first team. I mean, he was so dedicated. He knew every player. And then also around that, he did have that aura where you wanted to impress him. You didn't want to let him down. You were scared. You had to be clean shaven and all that sort of stuff. And he was the man that treated everybody the same in the club, and I think that special feeling has probably left United the last couple of years, and hopefully with Ollie being back at the club, they're starting to get that back.
Did you, obviously you've played with so many lads at Manchester United, were any lads that you were surprised that got let go? Was there any strange ones that maybe have then come back with another team?
There was. So we had 2 lads, Paul Wheatcroft and Ian Fitzpatrick, who at 16 were playing for England and went to Lillishall and were on that programme, The World at Their Feet.
Yeah.
And you're expecting them to kick on. But then what happens is they get a bit comfortable and they don't do the extra stuff that they need to do to continue that pathway. I'm not saying they thought they'd already made it, but they already think that, they don't really need to put in the extra work. So they surprised me that they got released at 18, 19 and didn't really get a career in football, because at 16, Paul Wheatcroft was supposed to be the new Michael Owen.
Yeah.
And then you get some late developers like Michael Stewart, a lad, I don't know if you've been a Michael Stewart, but he was...
Yeah, I've heard of that name actually.
He at 15, 16 was a good player, but he ended up playing in Scotland, played for Rangers, played for a couple of big teams there. And then you've got your nailed-on ones who were like John O'Shea, who you knew straight away. He didn't arrive till he was 16 at Man U. So he was in Ireland playing, I think he was playing for Waterford, came across, and then all of a sudden you're thinking, wow, he's going to be a first team player straight away. You get your people development at different times, and you're not quite sure really who's going to kick on and who's going to stay the same. But it's just work ethic really that gets you there in the end, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose that's
and a bit of luck,
yeah.
and you need a bit of luck.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what Wardy said.
Yeah.
We had Wardy on, and he was saying that his thought process was you've got to have that element of luck, right things happen at the right time for you, but just give it your all whenever you got the opportunity, just 100% out, give it whatever, and then hopefully things will fall in your favour.
Yeah, I would say I got a little bit of luck at rugby green because when I think I just signed my first year pro at 18, 19, I went on loan to Antwerp. And I think if I stayed with the under-19s at the time, I wouldn't have got lucky because I had Danny Higginbottom, John Curtis, some really good players, and they were going to stay for a long time. And luckily, I went away and had a really good season. Myself and Luke Chadwick, and we got promoted. And then we were the sort of talk of the papers. Really, the next one's coming through.
Yeah.
I think if I'd have stayed with the under-19s, I'd have stagmented. I wouldn't have got a look in and might have been released because some of my friends who stayed played under-19s football, and then got released, and then. You're trying to find a league.
So did they give you that opportunity? Did they come to you and say, right, we're doing these links? Because that was like one of the first ever links with the European team, wasn't it? Man United had done this link with Royal Antwerp in 10. Obviously, we mentioned before about Warwork went the year before you did.
And Danny Higginbottom.
Danny Higginbottom. And then you and Luke went the year after. So was it a case of they selected you guys, or did you go, yeah, I'm interested in that?
It was Jim Ryan who was basically the link between the two. He just came to me in training one day. Me and Luke just pulled us, I think it was in September, October time. He just said, right, lads, we've got an opportunity for you. You want to play first team football? We've got this link. It's a great club. They're in the second division. Gave us a little bit of background and said, do you fancy it? And we were like, yeah, it sounds great. We went over and had a look at it all. Straight over there as a 17-year-old, it's pressed there, and you're like, what's going on? You've gone from playing in the B team to, basically being on the edge of the first team. There's a big sort of deal about it, and straight away put in a hotel. And then we came back, me and Luke, that weekend, got our stuff, and then we moved over. And we did 8 months there and got promoted. So.
And what was that like as a young lad going? Because like you say, 8 was the first thing, like clubs have sort of done that. And then obviously from being in Manchester to into
surrounded by home comforts.
And also
you have to grow up quick.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to grow up. Luckily, we lived in a hotel where pretty much everything was done for us.
So you grow up quick, but as long as it was on the
table.
As long as,
exactly. There's food on the table, But in terms of like getting yourself around the city, and obviously it's a completely different language. I mean, a lot they do speak English, but for me, it was just playing games that meant something. There was livelihoods at stake. At 17, 18, it's that serious. Whereas the reserves stuff and the B team stuff, it's you're playing to develop, to improve your game. Whereas here is you've got to win because these lads need to put food on the table you're playing with. That sort of pressure.
With that, it's interesting you say that because the good discussion we just had in the last podcast was I did a little bit of research into the reserve team, and obviously Spain have their reserve teams playing in their proper leagues, I know Pep's hinted that he thinks that England should follow the same pathway, but I'm not a big fan of that because I think that English football's got a lot of tradition. So you can imagine the teams that are lower down, like your Preston North Ends, Blackburn Rovers, or your Plymouth Argyles. Where do they fit in it? And do fans really want to go and pay to watch Man City reserves play against Plymouth Argyle, or is that? What's your viewpoint on that?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I know there has been some sort of inter-selection, haven't they, this year, where I think City did play them in some sort of cup, didn't they? I think they played
Preston. In Johnston's Paint Trophy.
That's it,
So the under 23.
They've tried to do it, haven't they? Yeah. But I just think if you're a young lad, like I said, I've had my time, but if you're a young lad, you need to get out on loan early.
Yeah, I mean, I think
play first team football.
He didn't do it, but if you go back to some of the England boys now who are succeeding, they've all been out on loan, haven't they? Yeah. And you look at Beckham went out on loan to North End.
Yeah. Tough
Harry came late, and had 3 or 4 failed or not particularly successful loan spells, but kept going. And I think you realise what it's about, don't you? I guess.
Yeah. I think that's really important because I think you can just end up get stagnated in the reserve football where you're not playing in front of the crowds, and then if you do get released at 22, 20, you're not used to that type of football.
Yeah.
Because I went from Man U to Blackpool and it was just completely different.
So before we go to Blackpool, when you were at Antwerp, what was the standard football like? Was it as physical as you found out Division 1 would have been, or?
I would say it was between Championship and League 1. Yeah. Probably a little bit more football played because you're playing in a foreign league, so it was a bit more keep it on the floor, don't look to play long and play out from the back. It was similar to being at United really, but obviously you're playing against men. and playing in front of 15. I mean, the Antwerp fans were fantastic. We used to get 20,000 every game. They were brilliant. And obviously we had a really good team. We were going for promotion, so we were filling the stadiums every week. But there was pressure on you. If you had a loss, they'd wait for you at the stadium afterwards. Yeah, there was.
Wow,
they were really.
So it's like that in Italy, isn't it? I know there. It's literally
you can't afford to lose a game. You cannot afford to lose.
So what was that like as a young lad then?
Well, that was
you wouldn't have come across that before, would you?
No, exactly. And me and Luke were like looking on the sort of bus, and they were throwing stuff at the bus, swearing, you English guys, what are you doing? And it was just, I think, first 2 games that I was there, we won one, and then we lost the next one, and that's where we had that sort of wake up call. Yeah, we won the next 10, as I remember, but it was, for these fans, it's life or death.
Yeah, wow.
So it's a good experience.
Yeah,
but, scary at the same time.
Yeah.
Scary at the same time.
But here you go. You're in the hotel. 2 days later, there's people throwing stuff at you.
yeah, exactly.
So after Antwerp, you then went back to Manchester.
I had a bad injury. This is probably I during this last part, I think it was sort of second half of the season, picked up a groin injury, and it was one of those where you know straight away I'm in trouble. I tried to play on it a couple of games afterwards because obviously we're going from promotion. I think we had 5 games left, but we'd pretty much sewn up the league. And then I think I did myself more harm done. And then I came back to Man U, signed a 3-year deal, which is great. Fergie came and saw me, said, "You've done brilliant at Antwerp, we're going to give you a 3-year contract." So that secured me from sort of 18 to 21. But then for those next 2 years, I was injured. Wow. There was sort of saying that, I'm hoping that Danny Iggemot moves on and it's going to be a
space left back.
Left back. And he actually came out and there was a quote in the paper saying, "We've sold Danny Iggemot to Derby because we've got Kirk coming through." He was brilliant like that, just to give you a little bit of a boost.
That must be immense.
It was really, really, really big news for me personally, and I was thinking, right, I'm going to really push on here. And then I got the injury, and they weren't sure what it was, and it was before sports science, and I had a double hernia operation, came back. That didn't fix it. They said, "Well, you've just overtrained as a kid. You can have 6 months off, just rest your body and then come back." Again, I felt great coming back. Obviously, I hadn't trained, and then 2 months later, broke down again. And this is now we're going into sort of 18 months into my 3-year deal, and I'm thinking,
you're starting to worry now.
Yeah, you're starting to worry, and some of your mates are playing Champions League games because it was when United were dominating in Europe and they'd only qualified to throw the kids in. So you're seeing all that going on, and it was a tough time for me. And then eventually I went to see this Dr. Childers. This is like 2 years down the line, and he did this operation, which they don't generally do. It's the same doctor that dealt with Gerrard. He had the same one, and they drilled through the bone, got the blood releasing again, and I got back playing. But I wasn't the same player. I'd lost a little bit of sharpness and a yard of pace, and then they've got to move you on then in the next year because they've got Kieran Richardson coming through, Danny Pugh, and all those sort of players. So you've got to. It's one of those places with United where you've got to take your chance. You've got to be in there, and you've got to try and stay in there. Otherwise, there's going to be people behind you and people in front of you. Yeah. So it's a frustrating time.
So what year was that?
So that would have been 2001.
So this is it. So before we move on to Blackpool, this is what I don't know if you know this. But I was an avid Championship manager player.
You didn't buy me or sell me.
No. I was an avid Championship manager player in those. When I was at university, when I should have been doing a dissertation, I was playing Championship manager in the middle of the night. 2001 edition, best edition ever, Championship manager. I used to always sign a guy called Anissimo, he was an untried forward who was class. I was Boston United, that's my hometown team, Boston United. Lower leagues, get him on a free, and I'd get Kirk Hilton on a free.
Got me,
and he was always the captain.
All right,
because of the leadership thing. So when Stu said we'll set this interview up, blah blah blah, I said I'm pretty sure. Then I said I know that name.
You sold me.
I went in, and you might not know this, but in that game you were the 3rd most signed player in the history of Championship Manager 0001.
Oh, okay.
So I'll take that. Pretty cool stat, that.
Because I think you were obviously probably out of contract. You was probably on the free listed or expiring contract at that point, so players could get you for free.
Yeah.
And so there you go. Oh, there you go. So it might have ended not where you wanted at Man United, but
I had a good career in the champ management stage.
Did he do all right though? That's the question.
Yeah, for me.
I wasn't injured, was I?
Boston, no, we're fine. Captain. He used to play left-sided centre half, I think, if I remember rightly.
Did he grow a bit?
Yeah, that's a new position.
Yeah, I think that was Championship managers. They don't get it quite right, do they? But
Did you end up at Scotland at some point?
Yeah, so I went to Livingston On loan actually.
Was that in your last year of your...
Last year of my contract, yeah. So basically Fergie came and saw me, and he was good friends with Jim Leishman and David Hay. I don't know if you've heard those two guys, but they're quite legends. They were at Celtic and then they were at Livingston. Livingston were a big team at the time.
Yeah.
They were in Europe.
So I remember Livingston.
We played Sturm Graz in the UEFA Cup. And I went up, I think my problem was I had a decent pre-season in my last year, just got myself fit, but I still think it was too early for me to go and play and play with the men's team because I needed just to get into a rhythm. But Fergie wanted me to try and, to help these guys out. The left back was struggling a little bit, so we went to train. I went up there and trained on the AstroTurf, and I enjoyed it. And I thought, well, okay, it might be an opportunity for me to play in Scotland once because I knew I was getting released the year after. So I went up there, but the problem was they trained on AstroTurf every day, and when you've got bad hips and groins, I just couldn't do it. I was in absolute agony, especially after 2 years out. Yeah. So I didn't do myself justice. I played a couple of resi games, but never sort of got on the first team because I was training for an hour and I was like, listen, I'm going to have to go back. There's no way I can train on. And it wasn't like the 4G stuff
they've got now. It's the old style.
It's just like concrete with a green.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, where you get the proper sandburns. Yeah. So my body couldn't take it. It was one of those things where I should have stayed at United, done a year in the resi. So I came back. I think I came back at Christmas time. Don't get me wrong, I had a great time up there. Lived in Edinburgh and saw a different side and stuff. But came back to United and then just said to, I think it was Mick Phelan was our reserve coach at the time.
Back then,
I just want to play resi football and get myself in the shop window again because I want to stay in the Northwest anyway. So that's what I did. So it's just one of those things where your body can't take it.
So you said you knew you were going to get released. How early did you know, or was it just an inkling that something?
Oh, it was. Yeah, I mean, I knew I wasn't the same player, and I knew that there was players coming through. And Kieran Richardson and Danny were absolutely flying as well. They ended up playing for the first team, I think. And I think the writing's on the wall when you get into your third year and you're not around the first team.
Yeah.
You know that it's coming. So we had that chat, which it's coming, but it's always disappointing. You've been there since the age of 8 and you left at the age of 21, 22. And but he was brilliant with me and he said, look, I've got you a club. Steve McMahon was asking for somebody on loan and I've told him all about you and go meet up with him next week and get yourself sorted. So
and that was at Blackpool?
That was at Blackpool, yeah. So when Steve McMahon was at Blackpool, yeah. So I went down there and signed a 1-year deal.
And then, because I played a lot of time at Squires Gate when I played, and I know what Blackpool's like, and the training facility for Blackpool is not far away from the ground. It's a little bit more coastal than the ground, so we were a little bit more sheltered. So I bet that was an eye-opener going from Carrington to suddenly Squires Gate. It was
a massive one. But even when it's not windy, it's windy at Squires Gate. And they were clever to bring me not to the training ground to sign my contract. They took me to Bloomfield Road.
Yeah.
They kept me away from that. Too bad. They kept me away from that and signed my contract, year deal, and then first day pre-season. I got in the port cabins, which they had the changing rooms, and I was like, "Oh my god, what's going on here?"
So what league was this then?
So they were in League One.
The League One, yeah.
So this is 2003 now.
Yeah.
So I got changed in the port cabins, and then I've gone in there. I said, "Where's the actual changing rooms?" Gone, "Oh, this is it." One of the players went, "This is it," sort of thing. So I said, "This is the changing rooms." Yeah. This, and then you've got the training pitches outside. So I've done my session. It's been okay. We've just done the usual 5-a-side pre-season with a bit of running. And I've come in, took my kit off and I've thrown it in the middle like we used to do at Man U sort of thing. Throw it in the middle, the kit man comes. And they've all started laughing, the lads are going, "What are you doing with your kit?" And I've said, "Well, sure you got kit man." "No, you wash your own kit, mate. You're not Man U anymore." He said, "You can pay for a guy to do it for you. It's £300 a month, or you can take your own kit home." So I was thinking, this is bizarre this. I've gone from sort of Carrington to Blackpool and I'm having to wash my own kit. And then obviously, things are completely different. We had a canteen at Man U, so straight after training, you'd be in the canteen, full food, 3-course meal, and there was for us, we never got any food. It was just on a Friday, fish and chips.
Before a game on
the weekend, which is absolutely crazy stuff. And with Steve McMahon, obviously, with him being that Liverpool legend, and they just did 5-a-sides every day, we pretty much replicated that. We never did any sort of shape stuff or strength and conditioning, we were, obviously it was in 2003, but we never prepped for a game. It was 5-a-sides and then we're playing on Saturday. If you win, you have 3 days off. If you lose, you're in on Sunday. So that was basically it. It was a little bit like a holiday camp. And it was I found it tough for the first couple of weeks just to get used to it, because obviously going from the standards at Man U where everything's done, everything's laid out for you. The training's all perfect in terms of the coaching structure. You know the times what you're training. There's ice baths afterwards, jacuzzi, because we just had Carrington built as well, so you could have a rub after the training session with the physio or the masseur, and then you go from that to Blackpool. It was a
I generally think what you're saying now is we used to have a masseur at Blackpool Mechanics, so we were probably in a better state than you were.
Probably were at the time, yeah. But don't get me wrong, great experience. My first game was an eye-opener to league football. We played QPR away in 2003. They had a really good team, and we played in black kit, and it was 100 degrees, pitch bound, and we got absolutely battered. We lost 5-0, and it was 18,000. Holloway was the manager at the time. They had some really good players: Danny Shitu, Clark Carlisle, Gallen, Ainsworth, some really, really good players. And I was just like, no time on the ball at all. It was 100 mile an hour. And then we got a player sent off after 80 minutes as well. And we came on the bus, and I was like, wow, welcome to league football. Yeah. You don't get time on the ball like you did at Man U. It is 100 mile an hour and results count.
Yeah, and then what happened after that? You then carried on, because there was a few other people there, wasn't there? Grayson was there.
Yeah, so Simon Grayson played right back. Who else would have? Mike Sherrin was there.
Was Liverpool lawn keeper there? Is it Jones?
Yeah, Brad Jones was there. Brad Jones was there. Yeah. We had a really good team actually. We had Scott Taylor up top, who was a good goal scorer. Keith Southern, who ended up playing up in the Premier League with Blackpool. Richie Wellings played for Leicester. Mike Flynn, who you probably heard about, played for Stockport for 10 years. So we had a bit of a mixture of young lads, and then we had Neil Dans and Jonathan Douglas on loan from Blackburn. So we had quite, but they didn't come in until probably 3 or 4 weeks in. Could have done with them for the QPR game. But we actually went on a decent run after that, so that was a wake-up call. I mean, QPR we knew they were getting promoted, and they ended up coming second in the league, but we went on a good run, and it was just great to play in the FA Cup. We had a decent run in that. We ended up playing Portsmouth away. We nearly got a replay. Who scored in the last minute. Sheringham played in that game. They had some really good players playing, and then obviously we played Birmingham as well in the League Cup. So it's just, again, going from reserve football, league football, it's just completely different, and I really enjoyed the experience. But again, got injured back at half of the season. McMahon moved on, and then Colin Henry came in, brought in his own left back, Rob Edwards from Preston, left back, and he said, come and do pre-season with us. So I did pre-season. I shouldn't have done it really. I should have tried to get another club, and I did pre-season. He said, look, we just, we've got Rob Edwards and Danny Coyd as well, so we haven't got any space for you basically. So that was a tough time, because I was struggling again with injuries. I had a hamstring injury, and also my knee was, I think I'd done with meniscus, but we're sort of playing through it, and had six months out of the game. Then had an operation, and then played non-league for Altrincham for a little bit.
So just on that, when you were going from club to club, because we talked about this about agents getting so much. Yeah. Did you have an agent at that time?
I didn't.
Not really a thing?
I didn't really. There was a guy that was advising me who looks after a few of the United lads. But when you go in lower league stuff, they're not really. Being honest with you, I think more agents have more come in nowadays, but back then they weren't really interested in the ones going to your League Ones and League Twos. They want the Championship players or the Premier League players. But I did have a guy that was advising me at the time, who spoke to a couple of clubs. Swindon were also interested in me, but I didn't want to go down south, I wanted to stay up north. And I didn't really need an agent, because the deal was done within 5 minutes. I was without a club. Blackpool was a decent club. I knew Richie Wellings, who had left United and was captain there. And Fergie, I didn't want to fall out with Fergie and not go on his advice. So I thought I better go. If he says you're going Blackpool, you're going Blackpool. So. Yeah.
And then you head to Altrincham?
Head to Altrincham, again, different experience. Some surprise at the standard. Some good players who have been at Liverpool, Man City, Man United, all at YT level or just before YT, got released and were really good players. So different style of football again, a little bit more direct, which helped me because I was so used to playing a certain way. Had to play a different way, and really enjoyed it. I mean, the banter in the changing room completely different.
Were they in conference then?
They were in the conference at the time, yeah. So you got lads coming in with paint all over them. They've been doing a full shift, decorators coming in, training Tuesday, Thursday, game Saturday, and it was relentless. And I think we're in the Conference North, got promoted to the conference. Played 15, 20 games then, and then got my second chance at going back to Antwerp as a player at 27.
Oh.
So I did a pre-season. Jim Ryan had heard I was without a club, and he followed Altrincham, and he said, "Look, come in and do a pre-season with United. Antwerp are actually coming over for a pre-season, and you're going to play an 11v11 game against the United 11 at Carrington, and we'll have a look at you, and then if we see that you're fit enough, we'll sort you out." So I was obviously buzzing. I thought this is a way back into full-time football.
Yeah.
Until I saw the team that we're playing against. So the team we played against, they had Everton Vidic at the back.
Oh.
They had Raphael at right back, Ronaldo right wing. I was playing left back. Wayne Rooney up top, Fletcher and David Jones in midfield, I think. And then they had who else was on the other De Silva's twin on the other side.
So just a normal 11 then?
It was just a normal 11. Behind closed doors, my first game back. I'm trying to impress Royal Antwerp.
After you've been eating fish and chips on a Friday night,
exactly,
and non-league football with the paint and decorators.
And I'm playing against Ronaldo. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't in his pomp then, but he was 19, 20. Luckily, he wasn't bothered. You could tell he was going through the motions. He played right wing first half, and I just tried to get as tight as possible. I bet he thought, who's this busy? Because it's a little behind closed doors game, and I was just like, I'm not letting you run at me. There's no chance. And he was just laying it off, and then he went to the other side, and it was a funny story actually, because Danny Simpson was playing for Antwerp on loan and was playing right back, and him and Ronaldo knew each other quite well because they sort of trained together, and he just thought, right, I'm just going to terrorise Danny for the next 20 minutes. So he was just doing his step overs, and he was just had him all over the place. Danny was twisted. He said, "Danny, you all right? You okay? You all right?" And I thought, if he'd have done that against me, that would have been my Antwerp career finished before it started.
And that actually goes with the idea about a bit of luck every now and again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So,
So I did have a decent game, to be fair, even though I was playing against him. I think it was more because they were taking it easy. It was like a behind closed game. It was just about getting fitness back. Rooney was relaxed. It was a really relaxed game. Whereas we, Royal Antwerp, were trying to. I think it ended 3-1 to them, which is not a bad score, but they were going through the motions at the time. But I had a decent game and then got signed straight after that, and then signed a 2-year deal with them.
Definitely beats my David Lee story.
Yeah. Let's say that. So then made the move there.
Made the move.
And you said earlier with the wife now? Or
yes,
the
girlfriend girlfriend at the time. She's a teacher, so she moves over across with us to Antwerp. And then the great thing at the time was that they had so many good United players coming through, and the link was really strong. It's not as strong nowadays, but it's really strong that all the top players came across with me. So I was playing with Johnny Evans, Danny Simpson, Fraser Campbell, Ryan Shawcross. So that our back four was ridiculous. Within 2 months of playing with Johnny, he was like Beckenbauer. He would get it and he'd just be pinging it, left foot, right foot. I just said to him, "You're too good for this level." And within 3 months he was back. I think they sent him to Sunderland on loan and they got promoted with Roy Keane.
Yeah.
He was just too good for the level, but Danny Simpson was there, and they all ended up obviously having a great career. So I was kind of looking after them a little bit because I was 24 at the time. 27 at the time. They were 18, and they were Jack the lads with a bit of money. And my missus didn't move over straight away, and then she moved over a little bit later. But the first 3 or 4 months trying to settle them in and stop them from going out and causing chaos.
You were babysitting?
I was, pretty much. And I got on great with them all, but I just said, "Listen, lads, there's a bit more social media around nowadays. You can't get away with it."
And have they ever thanked you for that?
No.
No.
I mean, it was all part and parcel of it. I mean, when I say got up to stuff, they were just rowdy.
Lads being lads.
17-year-olds with a lot of money, who were the next lads coming through, and just try to help them a little bit of my experiences, because obviously I was a little bit older. But we had great times, and then the wife moved over, and then I had a really good first season. Second season again, injury, and the body couldn't take the demands of training, playing twice a week. Went back to Man U to get a second opinion on them, because they wanted to do an operation in Antwerp. I went back to my physios at Man U, even though this is what the club's like. You go back, it's like you're still one of their players. And they just said, "Look, go and see this Dr. Schilder, Dr. Villa. He's the hit man. he does all the hip operations for Keane and all that. Go and see him. I'm sure he'll be able to help you, because I had this. As soon as I sort of bent my leg, I had this sharp stabbing pain, and they all thought it was a muscle injury, and I needed a sort of release of the muscle in Belgium. They thought I was sort of chasing the red herring a little bit, and I said no, it's definitely a hip injury. Went to see him, and he just said, look, you're going to have to play part-time. You're never going to be able to play professional football again. Because your body's, it's not up for it. You've got a lot of scar tissue there and cartilage damage from overplaying as a kid with your biomechanics. So that was it. I'm only 28 at the time then. Really tough to take, and started doing a little bit of rehab. I still had 6 months left on my contract at Antwerp. Did my rehab just to get myself back, not back playing, but back mobile. And then I said to the missus, right, okay, you're a teacher, I'm 28, I'm not going to be able to play anymore. And I didn't want to go back to non-league down that route, really. I just wanted to sort of go into coaching. Yeah. And she ended up getting a job in Dubai, and we moved over ever since.
Perfect.
Since 2008, yeah.
We'll pause there before we go on to what you're doing now, which is one. What a career. I'm sure Stu particularly is quite envious of the fact that probably not Man United, he'd have chased it for Liverpool, but been round and a great, really honest about like the injuries and a bit of luck you've had. There must be some more stories to tell us about maybe initiations or some stories like when you've been out on tour, anything like that. Ones that stand out.
I think I'll keep it as clean as possible. I think when you sign for the club at 16, you go in there first week, and then all you can hear is, "Oh, it's going to be fun and games for you lads on Friday. Get ready for it." And everyone's like, "There's 16 of us. We're all chatting in the canteen. And what's fun and games?" "Oh, you'll find out on Friday. Friday at 12 o'clock. It's part of the first week of pre-season. You're in there, and then you're thinking, okay, it's going to be absolute madness. This." So anyway, Friday comes. Everyone's riding in the gym. The second years have got you right. Get in your changing rooms now. So you walk down to the changing rooms. The first team are in there. The reserves are in there. The second year YTs, there's 60 people in the changing rooms. You've got, like I said, these superstars: Cole, Beckham, Scholes. This is 99.
Class of 92.
Class of 92 are in there. This is 99 when they're obviously going to Sheringham.
I won the treble that year as well.
Won the treble. It was a great year when I was a YT, and you walk in there and then you're just like, oh my God, you want to die. And then next thing, you're all lined up, and then one by one you get up, you stand up, you say your name, your mum's name, and everyone's laughing at you. And then you've got to. But my forfeit or my initiation was Giggsy was sat at the end of the bed, and I've got to go up to him and got to pretend I'm in a nightclub, and there was this discotheque in Manchester called Royals where all the lads used to go to, and I've got to go and chat him up for everyone. And if you don't make him laugh, you've got to do something else. So you've got to really go for it. You pretend you ball up to him.
I see from in between us. I'm hoping he shuffled over.
Shuffled over. Started giving it the big in. Luckily, I just tried to make it as stupid as possible, and you got a little laugh. Right, go on then, sit down. You're done. Once you're done, it's the best feeling in the world, and you can laugh at your mates. Yeah. But it's you ask any sort of YT footballer, that is the most nerve-wracking. Forget playing in front of 55,000. Doing that your first week as a 16-year-old, you just come out of school and doing that in front of all those people. Legends, It is. And you tell your mates back home and they're like, nah, you've not done that in front of Coley and Yorkie and all that. I'm like, yeah, I promise you. They had me up there and I was having to say this, having to do that.
And ever been on the back end of a Fergie hairdryer or seen it in action before we move on?
I've seen it in action a few times. Youth Cup, our Youth Cup team was really disappointing in terms of I'd probably say we had a little bit, we didn't have the luck of the draw. So first year we played Blackburn, who ended up winning it. Got to the final, got beat off West Ham. And after the game at Blackburn, he came in and he absolutely hammered everyone. But he was clever, Fergie, because he would hammer the ones who he knew he could take, like Wes Brown and David Ely, those sort of lads who had actually had good games. He'd absolutely hammer them, and then you're thinking, oh God, what's he thinking about me? So it was all a bit mind games really, but we drew 1-1 and we got a replay, but he just said that is not how Man United play. We basically hung on, we didn't get into any of the rhythm, we didn't really show battling spirit either. We got lucky really, it was one chance, one goal, getting back to Old Trafford sort of thing. We thought we came in buzzing, he's come down and he's gone, that's not how you play.
Wow.
And he's hammered everyone, he's gone, you're not ready for the first team, you won't make the first team. And he's just hammered all of us and we've all just gone like that. Wow. Yeah. So And he will tell you. He'll tell you how it is. He's got standards. And then I've seen a couple of times where some of the lads have been messing around, or there was one funny time where Richie Wellings, we just played Arsenal at home, and we just got beat for the I think it was the Omar's goal at Old Trafford.
Oh yes,
do you remember 98?
Yes.
And obviously the club's devastated. Title's pretty much over. Arsenal going to win it, and we all used to sit around these red seats in the Cliff foyer. And Richie Wellings was sort of saying, I don't think the gaffer got it right, did he, the weekend? Playing John Curtis. Gaffer stood behind him. He's going, I'm not sure he played him right there, playing against Overmars. I think Phil Neville should have played there. We're all like, Richie, and he's turned around. Wellings upstairs now. And we heard him go upstairs, and we just heard him absolutely batter it. And that was a bit of a schoolboy error.
Brave boy.
Yeah, but he didn't know he was there. He'd just come in, he'd just come down, and obviously he wasn't in the best of moods anyway with the result. And he didn't want to hear a cocky 18-year-old lad telling him what team he should have played. So
you got your champ manager out. You would help him out.
Definitely, I'd have played Kirk. That's right.
Right, so Dubai, you are here now. What was the plan when you first arrived?
So the plan was get into coaching. So I worked for a couple of companies. I worked with Apollo actually at Repton for a little bit. I know you've had Apollo on last week. So we worked for a company first, and then I decided after a couple of years it was going okay, but Dubai wasn't the place what it was now. It wasn't as built up and stuff, and there wasn't the social media aspect of getting all the kids in. We had a great opportunity to do it. It was just not the right time in 2008, 2010. And then I decided to start my own academy 8 years ago, because I thought there was a big niche in the market for not just football academies, but making sure that players have an opportunity to get the same opportunities back home in the UK. So whether that's pro standard or go into a scholarship in America. We've been successful. Probably our most successful player is a lad called Mackenzie, who's back at Everton at the moment. But I think if you're going to go back to UK, you're going to have to go back at 13, 14 to get in the system. I think if you stay out here any longer, it's very difficult. So the players that we coach at the moment are from 4 to 18, boys and girls. And if they stay with us till they're 18, if they're good enough and they show the right attitude, obviously they need to be academic, then we'll try and send them to America, which has been one of our biggest pathways over the last 3 or 4 years, really. And
the coach you've got, they're all lads that have played?
Yeah, they're all ex-players. Yeah. And I think that's important. That's why the name GoPro. We want to try and push people on as much as possible, but I think they need to, the coaches' experience backgrounds that they've had can then be passed on to the players, because they've been at a pro club. Jordan's been at Preston, Matty's been at Oldham and Bolton, Johnny's been at Carlisle, and they've all gone through the sort of pyramid, but then got released and had to deal with that side of the game as well. I think it's not just about your ups, it's also how do you deal with rejection. And we've been talking about that last 2 weeks on our weekly podcast about pathways for all sports, and in fact this week we talked about that what happens to these kids that get released, and how do they deal with that. And I think Jamie Vardy's has given that academy a chance, but nothing after that. They kind of go there, and then if they don't get taken on again, they get that disappointment again. So I think that's really... So yeah, I mean, the coaches have been through all that, and the aim is for them to pass on their knowledge and my knowledge as well of not quite making it, but there are other options out there for you. And I think for us is also, that's only a small percent of the academy. You're only going to get 10-15% that do go that route, but we're trying to improve the individual as well. So we'll always give the players feedback. We do parents' evenings, we do online stuff, so they do get a report at the end of the season to see where they're at and what they need to improve on as an individual. Because you can concentrate on the team and winning games at weekends, but the most important thing for me is, as a service, is the individual. Can you improve that player? And you get probably more satisfaction of improving the ones who aren't quite as good than the ones who are going to kick on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So with obviously what's happened lately is you've probably taken a massive hit with the fact that you've not been able to train. So you got anything planned over the summer? Is there anything that people can get involved in potentially? Yeah,
so we are going to be doing summer camps over the summer. It's the first summer that we've sort of decided to do that. Obviously with a lot of parents, we've had a lot of feedback from parents saying we are staying. We want to keep the kids active over the summer, especially with, like you just said, missing out on 3 months training. So we'll be doing sessions at Desk, which is our school where we work, a really good partnership with them. And it's going to be indoor training, a little bit of fitness, a little bit like a pre-season vibe. So when they do get back in September, they're going to be ready to go for the new season.
And if parents or anybody watching this or kids, how can they get involved there? Social media, websites?
Yeah, social media. Just follow us on GoPro Football Dubai, or they can email us on info@goprosports.com, and hopefully, fingers crossed, there'll be enough spots and spaces for them, because we are in demand at the moment.
I'm going to say sign up early because I've already got my button pressed for Harry. I'm getting him signed up.
Yeah, good. Well, Kirk, thanks so much for your time. I really enjoyed that, and good luck with the summer camp and the next 12 years in Dubai.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Cheers.